Hi, it's Rob from Game Developer Studio. In this video, I want to show you how you can use the control screen creation kit to build out your in-game controller screen tutorial. This kit includes everything you need for building your on-screen tutorial, as well as buttons and icons for building on-screen control prompts. Inside the download folder, you'll find there's ping parts that have already been exported if you want to build the controller in your game engine. There's SVG parts if you want to edit and modify each part with Illustrator or Inkscape. As well as that, there's some pre-made PNG scenes ready for you to drop straight in. There's no text on these scenes, so you'll most likely have to add the text inside your game engine. As well as the PNG parts, there are GDS editor files, which is what we're going to be looking at in this video. So to run the GDS editor files, I'm going to open the GDS editor app from the website, and we can launch the app from the nav bar on the top. And once the app's loaded, I'm going to import the GDS editor file. I'm going to load it as a scene file. Let's take a look at the first controller layout, and I'm also going to load the parts. Controller all parts. Let's take a look at both of these scenes. So the controller all parts scene contains each controller part as a separate component, and the controller layout controls an example scene already laid out for you. Let's take a look at what we can do to set up our controller scene. As you can see in this scene, the components have been organized into tabs. So if we want to access components on the D-pad, we can open the D-pad tab and select components for the D-pad. If you want to access the tag text, we can open the text tab and open and select only the components in the text. And likewise for joysticks and the indicator lines. So the first thing we're most likely going to want to do is set our text. To set your text, we can select the text, like this one for example, and change it here. So for example, in a shooter we might want to reload, and here we might want to change weapon. If you want to change the font for the text, we can open the text options and change the font from the drop down. There is quite a few fonts in the drop down list from Google Fonts, and you also have access to some of your system fonts. So the text component has various properties which are all fully editable, so we can change the color and you can change stroke and shadow, but for the moment we'll just leave it like that. One handy option to change the fonts is to open the text tab. As you'll see, all the texts are laid out. Select all the texts, which will select all text for us. As you can see, it's selected, and we can now edit all the text. It's most likely that you'll want to set up the text in your game engine, especially if you're dealing with a game with multiple languages. This is probably just a quick and dirty solution for setting up your controller screen. So if you don't want to include the text, we can select all the text and simply hide it with the hide button. And there you have a preset PNG to export into your engine. Now it might be necessary to blank a button out, as some of your games might not need all the controller buttons. To blank a button out, we can delete the button. We can select the components and simply delete them. We can access this button features, and we can turn off the marker and desaturate the button. we can control which options are available. If you need to use different buttons because you're targeting a different controller, we can replace buttons using the component parts from the controller all parts file. So if we want to have a classic PlayStation setup, we can select the PlayStation buttons. We've already got the X, so in this case we don't need it, and bring them in. We can copy and paste them in with Control C, Control V, and we can swap these out. Let's remove these buttons that we want to change. We'll keep that one and bring it down to there, and let's remove that. You can change color using the color adjust functions of GDS editor. So if we select the controller and we use the master color control, we can change the color of the controller. We can target the controller handles and the controller color area and the shoulder buttons. As the shoulder buttons are white, we won't be able to change the hue. If you want to colorize the shoulder buttons, we can use the color blend function by selecting the shoulder buttons color group, the color blend, picking the color and blending. If you would like to only target the fill of the shoulder buttons, we can turn off the stroke effect and target the fill. Let's pick this green color. If you would like to change the color of the guidelines, the simplest way would be to select the lines, category tab, and select all the lines, and from here we can adjust the color. There's stroke, so we need to affect the stroke. We can also affect the thickness and width of the line, so you can make them extra thick or a lot thinner. Changing color of the buttons, again we can't use the hue, we must use the colorize function. To change the color of the fill. This pack contains 3 example scenes with 3 varying controller types. A classic generic controller, an old-fashioned console controller, and a second generic controller. As well as on-screen controller settings, we can also use the icons included in the controller all parts file to build on-screen prompts, as well as on-screen animations. Each button has 3 states, and we can use these as frames for our animations. To build on-screen prompts, we can use the icons with text. For example, hopefully this pack contains everything you need to build out your on-screen controller tutorials. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.